Right. So, very impressive guy, and like a lot of people in the Trump circle, has either personal or business ties with Trump. Look, he's already got the Trump has already announced as well that Steve Witkoff is going to be his envoy for the Middle East. He's also going to have people that he trusts that are going to be in the State Department and NSC working in the Middle East. So the U.S. Middle East policy is going to be the work of many hands. I think that Boulos is going to be a good influence there because he understands, certainly from the domestic perspective and the regional perspective as well, how the impact of U.S. action and inaction. He's going to be a voice, in my view, calling for strong U.S. leadership, something more assertive than what we've seen. But I don't know that he's going to be the point man per se. We still have a lot to go to see. Does, for instance, Secretary-designate Rubio, does he get approved? Who's his Middle East right hand? Who's going to be the senior director for the Middle East of the National Security Council? Boulos is a good, strong addition to the team, may not be the determinative single voice in where Trump goes on Mideast issues.
Of course, and all of this is going to be very important because we can see how things are shifting in the Middle East very dramatically, most notably, of course, in Syria. What is your take on the turn of events over the past 48 hours?
Well, so there's a lot of people who have long deplored the complexity or the ickiness, if you will, of the Syrian war, because there's very few white hats and black hats, and Americans like to have purely good and purely bad actors, right? And so the fact that the anti-Assad offensive is being led by Hayat Tahrir al-Sham, which is a group that has evolved somewhat, but has its roots in jihadist terrorism, gives people pause. I think the State Department's message was Assad asked for this by refusing to negotiate, but we're not very pleased about how far it's gone either. Look, personally, I think that for negotiations to happen, Assad, who's absolutely rebuffed every effort from the West for a decade, and from Turkey, most especially over the last 6 to 8 months, to negotiate some sort of an end to this war, he had to have his seat shaken. So I think all in all, from the perspective of those who want the war in Syria to stop, who want to see the killings of civilians stop and the Iranian colonization of Syria stop, I think this is in the net a good thing, even though it is messy and icky.
And after a decade of being entrenched in Syria and expanding their influence across the region, Iran does finally seem to be finding itself on the back foot, doesn't it?
Well, look, the United States and Israel both allowed, unfortunately, for a decade or more, this war by proxy against not just Israel and the United States' interests, but also the Arab peoples in Lebanon and in Syria and in Iraq and in Yemen to go uncontested because they were not fighting an open conventional war, but doing it through proxies. People just sort of let that roll, and it's been very bad and very destabilizing for the region. So, yeah, now they're wrong-footed because, led by Israel's example, I think a number of regional players have said enough, this far and no further with regards to your proxy wars. This may give a chance for diplomacy to result in a more stable and more peaceful region. Let's hope that.